Alright everyone, welcome back to this channel. Yes, I haven't posted for a very long time, right? So I'm back. I'm back, and I'm like currently like trying to write a research paper. I'm just like doing basic research. Uh, uh, the topic of my research is like building responsible AI, like making your AI responsible and moral, right? That is the topic of my research. And throughout these videos that I'm going to upload, hopefully pretty consistently, uh, throughout these videos, I'll try to like go through the research. I'll try to research. I'll try to read papers and try to figure out stuff uh, in these videos. So welcome back again. Sorry for the bad setup and all the systems, and I mean it's definitely not good. Like I'm sorry for that. And also like I have like lost my computer, the laptop. So I'm just using a very minimal one. So please bear with me. Uh, so just for a little bit of background. Artificial intelligence again. It is taking over us. It is taking over many industries. It is it is helping in the automation of many stuff, especially because of the rise of large language models. As you might know, these models are becoming like very powerful, and they are like replicating humans, right? They are replicating humans, and since they are computers, they could be way better than us. So it is very important for us to actually keep them in control, right? We have to keep them in. We have to keep these models in control. Otherwise, you know, there's going to be uncontrollable and maybe disadvantages to us. Uh, so instilling these models with morality is our first goal. That is what I'm going to like research. That is what I'm going to look at. We are going to go through some papers that maybe we are going to read some interesting papers throughout this series. So welcome. Uh, so this is the paper I'm going to read today. The Psychology of Morality, a review and an analysis of empirical studies published from 1940 to 2017. So again, like since a very young age, I have been like watching throughout many sci-fi works, AI models have been AI has been you know AI has been shown like a villainous creature, right? Like, to be honest, like when I saw the Age of Ultron movie, right? When I saw Age of Ultron, uh, the first question I got was like, why are these models so dumb, right? You know, these models are like very powerful, uh, from one perspective, like they could do like crazy amount of calculations, but why can't they really understand what humans want, right? I mean, like, I remember like Tony Stark tells like you have to work for peace, and then the models like the model completely misunderstands it. Like yeah, like why are this model unable to understand human psychology, right? What a human wants, right? That is what I'm going to see. I'm going to see what is morality in general. How do humans have this morality? Is it because of consciousness, right? Uh, Maybe humans are conscious, and maybe that is how humans have this representation, like this narrative of morality. Maybe that is why. And I'll try to see why LLMs. I'll try to see if LLMs, if AI models can have this consciousness inside them, have this perspective and personal opinion and like morality and all. Yeah, I know we'll try to study. Uh, so yeah, let's get through this paper very fastly. Okay, these videos are not going to be like very fancy and very uh, yeah. I'm not like attracting any views. I'm not going to go for any views. This is just mere research, and I thought maybe yeah, I'll just try to open source all the research I'm going to do. So yeah, let's get through to this paper. Right, so this is the abstract. I will read the abstract. We review empirical research on social psychology of morality to identify which issues and relations are well documented by existing data, and which areas of inquiry are in need of further empirical evidence. And our literature study yielded a total of 1,200 all that. These were subjected to expert content analysis and standardized by bibliometric analysis to classify research questions and relate these to trends in empirical approaches that characterize research on morality. We organized the research questions addressed in this literature into 5 different themes and considered how empirical approaches within each of these themes have addressed psychological antecedents and implications of moral behavior. We conclude that some key features of theoretical questions relating to human morality are not symmetrically captured in empirical research and are in need of further investigation. Alright, yeah, okay. So I think let's start from here. I think that's all. So morality indicates what is right and wrong way to behave. For instance, that one should be fair and not fair to others. This is considered of interest to explain the social behavior of individuals living together in groups. Results from animal studies or insights into universal justice principles do not necessarily help us to address moral behaviors in modern societies. This also requires the reconciliation of people who endorse different political orientations or adhere to different religions. The observation that good people can do bad things further suggests that we should look beyond the cause of individual deviance or delinquency to understand moral behavior. In our analysis, we consider key explanatory principles emerging from prominent theoretical approaches to capture important features characterizing human morality. These relate to A. Social anchoring of right and wrong, conceptions of the moral self, and interplay between thoughts and experience. We argue that these 3 key principles explain the interest of so many research in the topic of morality and examine whether and how these are addressed in empirical research available to date. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like the thing is, they are saying that morality is not like morality is relative. It depends on the perspectives, and society may have like different conceptions, different perspectives of what is right and wrong. That is what they are saying. This like really interests me. I really like want to know how these moral perspectives are built up, whether they are learned, and how these are learned, so that once we understand like how humans learn stuff, how humans uh, achieve morality, how humans accumulate a perspective on morality. I think once we understand that, maybe we could use this fundamental system or technique, maybe use it for AI. I mean, let's see, right? This study, I'm not going to like achieve the complete conscious AI. I'm not going to like build them. Just like we're going to like go through some insights, maybe for future works on AI. Maybe that is what I'm going to do. Or anyway, we'll keep reading. Through an active research, manufacture of pyramid, okay. And separate strands of research seem to be different questions and empirical approaches that do not connect to a common, okay. Why should, okay, morality and social, let's start from here. Moral principles indicate what is good, what is just, right, or ethical way for humans to behave. Moral guidelines do not harm can induce individuals to display behavior that has no obvious instrumental use or no direct value for them. For instance, when they show empathy, fairness, or altruism towards others, moral rules and sanctions for those who transgress them are used by individuals living together in social communities, for instance, to make them refrain from selfish behavior and to prevent them from lying, cheating, or stealing from others. Yeah. Again, like their moral acts may not have like individual benefit, but they still do it, right? The role of morality in the maintenance of social order is recognized by scholars from different disciplines. Biologists and evolutionary scientists have documented examples of selfless and empathic behaviors observed in communities of animals living together, considering these as relevant origins of human morality. Alright, okay. They have also, I think, it's kind of interesting. Like even biologists, biologists and evolutionary scientists, they observed empathic behaviors among animals. Uh, it's actually kind of interesting. But anyway, the main focus of this work is on displays of fairness, empathy, or altruism in face-to-face groups, where individuals all know and depend on each other. In the analysis provided by Tomasello and Weiss, this would be considered the first tier of morality, where individuals can observe and reciprocate the treatment they receive from others to elicit and reward cooperative and empathic behaviors that help to provide individual and group survival. Okay, let's just look at this point. This kind of looks interesting. The main focus of this work, okay, In the analysis provided by these people, this would be considered the first tier of morality, where individuals can observe and reciprocate the treatment they receive from others to elicit and reward cooperative and empathic behaviors that help to protect individual and group survival. Alright, so like what they are saying is that in the first tier of morality, the you know the treatment that they receive, they'll try to uh, they'll try to imitate it. They'll try to imitate the treatment that they receive, and also they also talk about like group survival, like cooperation and group survival, which is actually like kind of interesting. Maybe okay, yeah, we'll keep moving on. We'll try to also I'll also try to like note the important points, and then I'll put it in the description if possible. I'll also try to like note the important points of this study. Or I'll just make new notes. Let's see. I'll just open new notepad. Sorry for the bad computer. Like yeah, it's very slow. I'll just open notepad. Right. So I'll just write it just for some use. I'll just write first like that. First tier morality. Imitating the what do you call it? The treatment that they receive. Yeah, I'll just write that. And yeah, we might have to like we might like just look at what this paper is. Maybe just for have internet. Anyway, okay. So philosophers, legal scholars, and political scientists have addressed more abstract moral principles that can be used to regulate and govern the interactions of individuals in large and more moral principles. Here, the nature of cooperative or empathic behavior is much more symbolic, as it depends less on indirect exchanges between specific individuals, but taps into more abstract and ambiguous concepts such as the greater good. Yeah, kind of interesting. Yeah, so like uh, the idea of morality itself is kind of abstract. It's not it's not like it's not that simple, right? Like just imitating the behavior or imitating the what do you call it, behavior that they receive, right? Imitating the treatment that they receive. I don't. Yeah, it's definitely not that simple. It's more abstract, like the concept of the greater good or just morality. Like morality, the idea of morality is like doing something that you do not have to, right? And that is what we should teach AI, like doing something that they don't have to. Like it's not just like repaying them. It's not just. It's morality is not like gratitude, right? Morality is much more than that. Yeah, yeah. The idea of morality itself is kind of ambiguous. Scholarly efforts in this area have considered how specific behaviors not might not be in line with different moral principles and with which guidelines and procedures might institutionalize social order according to such principles. These approaches tap into what why is considered the second tier of morality, which emphasizes the social signaling functions of moral behavior, emphasizes the social signaling functions of moral behavior and distinguishes human from animal morality. I think yeah, a lot of insights are coming from this people. They just look at their work, might be of any use. Even I do not even have like access to internet right now. Yeah, kind of sad, but I think we'll first. Anyway, I think I'll make another video on this paper separately. The tiers of morality, different tiers. Okay, so which emphasizes social signaling functions of moral behavior and distinguishes human from animal morality. At this level, behavior guidelines that have lost their immediate survival value in modern societies, such as specific dress codes or dietary restrictions, that have lost their immediate survival value, they nevertheless come to be seen as prescribing essential behavior that is morally right. Okay, it is behavior guidelines that have lost their immediate survival value in modern societies. Mm. Okay, we'll read it. Specific behaviors can acquire this symbolic moral value to that extent that they define how individuals typically mark their religious identity, communicate respect for authority, or secure group belonging for those adhering to them. Okay. Yeah, it's also kind of again interesting. Uh, so behaviors. Okay. Behavior guidelines that have okay, even behavioral guidelines have become like moral values. I don't know. We may have to like read this paper and understand things. Behavioral guidelines that have lost their immediate survival value. Immediate survival value in modern societies. Most societies may nevertheless come to be seen. Yeah, I think they are referring to like traditions, right? You know, there are some traditions that we do that may not have like immediate survival effect. That may not be directly valuable to us, right? Even these things are maybe considered moral, like something that something that is moral, right? I think if you come to India, there are like many practices that are considered good, but then there is no rational evidence that these acts are good. There are many like acts, right? There are many things that the Indians do that do not. I mean, and these traditions would like do not necessarily have a moral value, and there is no rational evidence whatsoever. But they'll just do it, right? Just like traditions, right? It's kind of interesting. Like even this is called like second level of morality. It is kind of interesting. Even I don't know. I don't know. Like, even this is. I don't know if this is considered moral thing. Okay, let's specific behaviors can acquire symbolic moral value to the extent that they define how individuals typically mark their religious identity, communicate respect for authority, or secure group belonging for those adhering to them. Okay, moral judgment that functions to maintain social order in this way rely on complex explanations and require verbal exchanges to communicate the moral overtones of behavioral guidelines. Language driven interpretations and attributions are needed to capture symbolic meanings and inferred intentions that are not self evident in behavioral ways or outwardly visible indicators of emotion. Yeah, yeah, I think that is what that is what it is saying. That is what they are saying. uh, the perceptions of morality might also be emotional, right? They're not, they don't have to be like a rational thing. uh, I think they are backed by emotions, maybe, which I think is maybe kind of hard to uh, insert in AI. Insert is not the right word, but okay, anyway. I think we'll keep reading. This is just the first reading, right? I think I'll come up with notes and all. I'll keep reading. Right? The interest of psychologists in moral behavior as a factor in maintaining social order. Moral behavior as a factor for maintaining social order has long been driven by developmental questions. How do children acquire the ability to do this, for example? And clinical implications. What are the origins of self-deviance and delinquency, for example? Publications on the role of quick intuition versus deliberate reflection in distinguishing between right and wrong marked on a turning point in the interest of psychologists in these issues. The consideration of specific psychological mechanisms involved in moral reasoning prompted many psychological researchers to engage with this area of inquiry. This development also facilitated the connection of psychological theory to neurobiological mechanisms and inspired attempts to empirically examine underlying processes at this level. For instance, by using functional magnetic resonance imaging (MRI), measuring to monitor the brain activity of individuals confronted with moral dilemmas. That is interesting. Like they'll like look at the like magnetic signals in the brain uh, of in the brain of persons with like moral dilemmas, and like that is also quite interesting. Then just we'll just try to, as I said, look at it again. Moral behavior is factor in maintaining social. Okay. Quick intuition versus deliberate reflections, instigation between right and wrong. Moral turning point. Okay. And implication on the role of quick intuition versus deliberate reflection in distinguishing between right and wrong. Moral turning point in the interest of psychologists in these issues. Yeah, again, the idea of right and wrong might just be instinctive, right? It might like it is something that comes more naturally, maybe. Yeah, like there is no like deliberate reflection. Um, that is what they are saying. The consideration of specific psychological mechanisms involved in moral reasoning, theory of inquiry. These are not the connection of psychology. No, okay, anyway. So yeah, the takeaway is that these psychologists, many psychologists have used neurobiological mechanisms. They have tested their neurobiological mechanisms through tests like MRI to see any relation between morality and like actual biological mechanisms. Okay, we'll keep moving on. Below, we will consider influential approaches that have advanced the understanding of human morality in social psychology, organizing them according to their main explanative focus. These characterize the second tier. Implications of morality that go beyond more basic displays of empathy and altruism observed in animal studies that form the root of biological and evolutionary explanations. From the theoretical perspectives currently available, we extract three key principles that capture the essence of human morality. Right. Influential approaches that have advanced the instant human care. That go beyond more basic displays of empathy and altruism. The root of essence of human morality. Right. These three principles. I think these three key principles. They say, uh, they capture morality. Let's try to read it. I'll try to read it slowly. Let's go. Okay. So the first key principle. Okay, the first key principle that captures the essence of human morality: social anchoring of right and wrong. Right, so this is, as per the paper, the first key principle that guides the essence of human morality, like where does it come from and what is human morality. The first principle is this. The first principle refers to the social implications of judgments about right and wrong. This has been emphasized as a defining characteristic of morality in different theoretical perspectives. For instance, Skitka 2010 and colleagues have convincingly argued that beliefs about what is morally right or wrong are unlike other attitudes or convictions. Instead, moral convictions are seen as compelling mandates, indicating what everyone ought to or should do. This has important social implications as people also expect others to follow these behavioral guidelines. They are emotionally affected and distressed when this turns out not to be the case, find it difficult to tolerate or resolve such differences, and may even resort to violence against those who challenge their views. Right. Uh, yeah. So what has been shown here is that morality is something that is maybe sometimes a social belief, right? A social, uh, more like maybe tradition, maybe something that is like this is what you should be like and this is not how you should be like the social norm, you can say. Maybe that is what that is how that is how right and wrong are being judged, like normally by a person, right? So if you come to a person and ask him what is right and wrong, maybe it is not and if he answers, and maybe the answer is not only based on his personal judgment, but also based on what the society believes, right? Maybe the society's judgment and the society's idea might actually play a huge role in what he believes. So yeah, that is what we're shown here. Let's move on. This socially defined nature of moral guidelines is explicitly acknowledged in several theoretical perspectives on moral behavior. The theory of planned behavior offers a framework that clearly specifies how behavior intentions are determined in an interplay of individual disposition and social norms held by self-relevant others. Individual dispositions and social norms held by self-relevant others. For instance, research based on this perspective has been used to demonstrate that the adoption of moral behaviors, such as expressing care for the environment, can be enhanced when relevant others think this is important. Again, interesting. So, moral behaviors, again, as I've told again, as we have read before, uh, moral behaviors are determined in an interplay between what the social norms and the individual dispositions, right? Uh, so, if for example, if you believe in something, if you think, you know, let's take an example. Let's say, uh, let's say you believe in the idea of democracy, right? Maybe in like uh, maybe within the starting of the idea of democracy, maybe if you are in that period, you may come up with a system of democracy, but you may not give it a relevant importance. You may not express a huge amount of support for it. But whenever you have a group of people acknowledging uh, the same idea, you might like give it relevantly high, a, a relatively high importance than before. So that is what they're saying. The idea of society believing something, the society judgment may play a huge role in what you believe. And I think when we come to like LLMs, that it is true also in the case of LLMs. Even LLMs are simply the collection of all the data they have. The LLMs are just the sum of all the data that they have seen. So maybe social norms also play a role in LLMs. Maybe the idea that they seem quite often, or the things that they see more often, play a huge role in what they act like. For example, most of the internet data is like pretty morally wrong. A lot of things that are said in internet maybe are quite wrong, or maybe quite unacceptable. I should probably say that. And maybe that is what, for example, there is like a lot of hate in internet, a lot of maybe a lot of racism and a lot of hate and all. And maybe that is why the LLMs that we are building are having uh, this kind of perspective, this kind of behavior, right? So maybe one thing that we could do is maybe clear out the data of hate content, and maybe suppress the hate things, and suppress the hateful content, and encourage the right things. Maybe that is what we should do. Taking care of the society will make a difference in the personal perspective. That is what we have seen. All right, we'll keep moving on. We'll keep moving on. Uh, in a similar vein, HIDT, I don't know how I should spell it, but anyway, argued that judgments of what are morally good versus bad behaviors or character traits are specified in relation to culturally defined virtues. This allows shared ideas about right and wrong to vary depending on the cultural, religious, or political context in which this is defined. Accordingly, all these people accordingly specifies that moral intuitions are developed through implicit learning of peer group norms and social cultural socialization. This position is supported by empirical advice, evidence showing how moral behaviors plays out in groups. This work documents the different principles that groups of people use in their moral reasoning. By connecting judgments about right and wrong of people's group affiliations in societies, this perspective clarifies why different religious, political, or social groups sometimes disagree on what is moral, and find it difficult to understand the other position. Right, again, uh, social norms or morality is generally learned from peers, right? Peer group norms from these like cultural socialization, like from a group of people. These social norms or these moralities learned, and that's why many different groups and different religions and different political groups may disagree the other positions. Maybe that is why. Again, I'm trying to get to the bottom here. Like, what is I'm trying to get as deep as possible, right? Uh, we are not going to just cover the high level overview. I really want to look at it in a more personal level on what and how why do these groups even differ on their moral judgments. Uh, Maybe it's of course it is the environment, it is the kind of thinking, it is a combination of the people that are in the group. Again, we'll get to that. We'll keep moving on. We argue that all these notions point to socially defined and identity affirming properties of moral guidelines and behaviors. Conceptions of right and wrong reflect the values that people share with important others and are anchored in the social groups to which they hope to belong. Okay. We argue that all these social notions point to the socially defined and identity affirming properties of moral guidelines and moral behaviors. Conceptions of right and wrong reflect the values that people share with important others and are anchored in the social groups to which they hope to belong. This also implies that there is no inherent moral value in specific actions or over displays. For instance, of empathy or helping. Okay, there is no inherent moral value in specific actions or over displays. For instance, empathy or helping. Instead, the same behaviors can acquire different moral meanings depending on the social context in which they are displayed and the relations between actors and targets involved in this context. Thus, the first question to be answered when reviewing the empirical literature is therefore is whether and how the socially shared and identity relevant nature of moral guidelines, central to key theoretical approaches, is addressed in the studies conducted to examine human morality. Okay. Yeah, so again, the studies of morality should include more social studies. Like, I think that is quite a good word. Identity relevant nature should also be considered while examining human morality. Again, that is not our goal. We are trying to understand human morality and try to see if we could fit it to AI. Again, we'll keep moving on. Conceptions of the moral self, right? This I think is might be the better concept to go through maybe for us, because this is kind of a very general point of view. We are just looking at society, and the idea of society will dictate the personal perspective. Again, the takeaway we could take away that the LLM's training data, maybe that plays a huge role in what the LLMs believe. uh, and also we might not want the LLM to have one perspective, which I think is kind of bad, because again there are many, well, in the population of in the human population, there are many diverse ideas and diverse politics, diverse ideas, diverse beliefs, and we want the LLMs, we want the AI to accommodate all these beliefs. Of course, we want the LLMs to accommodate all these beliefs, for a democratically run system. Uh, that is what we want, and uh, in the majority of the training data of the LLM, I think there might be fair combinations or fair contributions or fair percentage of all these diverse human values. So the model might have diverse point of views. Maybe it does. For for example, take a child. Let's say there is a child, and in this one child is has been taught the ideas and morals of different religions. For example, there are different religions, many religions, and this one child is taught the ideologies and moralities of all the religions on the planet. Then this child uh, might actually accommodate different morals, might not actually take one perspective and live with it. Well, that hopefully LLMs should be able to do that. That will be very good. But then the concentration of each belief might not be like pretty uniform. So we might have a very diversified and almost what do you call what is that word, partial, right? We might have like partial distributions, maybe unfair distributions and unfair concentrations or distributions, which might lead to LLM suppressing some morality, some ideas, or maybe some ideas. We might be looking at this in a wrong perspective, like but let's move on, right? The social anchoring is, yeah, I think it's a very pretty influential concept, like how morality is accumulated. Okay, let's come to the second principle, conceptions of the moral self. Right. A second principle that is needed to understand human morality and expands evolutionary and biological approaches is rooted in the explicit self-awareness and autobiographical narratives that characterize human self-consciousness and moral self-views in particular. Okay, autobiographical narratives that characterize. Okay, so many of the uh, our moral views might actually be dictated or characterized by autobiographical narratives, like what happened to us, our personal life. Very interesting point. We'll move on. Because of the far-reaching implications of moral failures, people are highly motivated to protect their self-views of being a moral person. They try to escape self-condemnation even when they fail to live up to their own moral standards. Different strategies have been identified that allow individuals to disengage their self-views from morally questionable actions. The impact of moral lapses or moral transgressions on one's self-image can be averted by redefining one's behavior, averting responsibility for what happened, disregarding the impact on others, or excluding others from the right to moral treatment, to name just a few possibilities. Again, to escape self-condemnation, right? To escape self-condemnation, these moral standards of each person, they'll change it. They'll change or they'll update their own moral standards to avoid self-condemnation. Their own autobiographical narratives, their own personal life may dictate their moral views because they don't want to be like criticized. Interesting point here again. We'll keep moving on. A key point to note here is that such attempts to protect moral self-views are not only driven by the external image people wish to portray to others, or not only okay. Importantly, the conviction that one qualifies as a moral person also matters for internalized conceptions of the moral self. Okay, a person really wants to be considered as moral, and that is a very that is a very tendency that humans have. They want to be considered as moral, like whatever they do. For example, there might be someone who are indulging in some unfair practices, right? And although maybe there is no like actual crimes, maybe it's not actually a crime, right? There is an act, or there is a job that is unfair or morally wrong, or morally judged as wrong, and these people, like, they consider they try to normalize to their own autobiographical narrative. They try to normalize their own self perspective, which, okay, interesting. I think we'll keep moving on, right? A key point to note here is that such attempts to protect moral self-views are not only okay. Okay, we have read that, right? Okay, so this can prompt people, for instance, to forget moral rules that they did not adhere to fail to recall their moral transgressions, or to disregard others whose behavior seems morally superior. Okay, they'll disregard morally superior behaviors that they see in others. I think, like, just like this whole narrative can be described as, within a single word, ego, their own personal ego, which of course I hope LLMs lack, right? They don't. I hope LLMs lack ego. Anyway, moving on. As a result, the strong desire to think of oneself as a moral person not only enhances people's efforts to display moral behavior. Instead, sadly, it can also prompt individuals to engage in symbolic acts to distance themselves from moral transgressions, or even make them relax their behavioral standards once they have demonstrated their moral intentions. Thus, tendencies for self-reflection, self-consistency, and self-justification are both affected by and guide moral behavior. Instead of both are affected by and guide moral behavior. Okay. Prompting people to adjust their moral reasoning as well as their judgments of others and to endorse moral arguments and explanations that help justify their own past behavior and affirm their worldviews. Again, uh, the ideas of self-reflection, self-consistency, and self-justification, well, they guide moral behavior. They bring moral behavior in any type of person. Again, an interesting point. I'll just try to note it down in the notes. I will note it down in the notes. What is second rare morality? Second rare morality. It is traditions, right? Traditions that may not have any rational evidence. Right? Maybe that is a good thing. That is a good narrative explanation or description. And then the three principles. We have also read the three principles. We have finished reading the first principle. Three principles that constitutes human morality. The first principle is social. What is it called? Social anchoring or social anchoring or social judgment. Let's say social judgment. I think I'll just leave it at that. And then the second is personal self narratives of morality based on their autobiographical personal what do you call it? Autobiographical experiences, let's say, on what they have done, right? Based on this conceptions of the moral self. Okay, we're moving on. So the ideas of self-reflection, self-consistency, and self-justification, they are very important. Let me like write it all after reading it. After the video, I'll write it. We'll keep moving on. Okay. Thus, tendencies for moral behavior, prompting people to adjust their moral reasoning as well as their judgments to others, and to endorse moral arguments and explanations that help justify their own past behavior and affirm their worldviews. A second important question to consider when reviewing the empirical literature on morality, thus, is whether and how studies take into account these self-reflective mechanisms in the development of people's moral self-views. From a theoretical perspective, it is therefore relevant to examine antecedents and correlates of tendencies to engage in self-defensive and self-justifying processes. From an empirical perspective, it also implies that it is important to consider the possibility that people's self-reported dispositions and stated intentions that may not accurately indicate or predict the moral behavior they display. Nice. One question to consider when reviewing the empirical literature on whether. Okay. Yeah. So even when we are building LLMs, we should have self-reflecting mechanisms. We should probably employ self-reflective mechanisms that just make these LLMs look at their actions again, look at what they learned again, look at what they have predicted or look at their completions again, look at the predictions again, whatever. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like maybe we should in the case of LLMs, maybe we should train another model, like another model just to make sure that everything is like morally relevant. What the model is predicting. Just taking another look at what it has done, uh, again, like what the model, like the models, the models default behavior is characterized by what it has learned in the training data, right? So, for example, take a person, right? If you have a person, their behavior, like their general behavior, might be guided by what they have seen from their childhood, right? Maybe until their childhood, what they have seen, and by different other factors, right? For example, uh, let's say uh, let's say that man did something wrong because of his self, because of his I don't know, something, because of his self needs or whatever. But then re-examining what he have done and re-examining his moral, so based on his moral standards, or based on the moral standards of uh, of the people, maybe based on the moral standards of the people, you should maybe self-reflect again. That is what we should do. Uh, Maybe there is a person that belongs to one certain group, a certain religion. Maybe he comes along and goes through this process of self-reflection, maybe thinking again of what he has listened or what he has believed, reflecting again on his idea of morality. Maybe that is very important. Maybe that leads to corrected uh, moral narrative. Again, we'll keep moving on. Uh, so this is the third principle. So the second principle is that a lot of it comes from self, from what we have done. Humans might update their moral narratives based on their autobiographical events or out experiences or what they have done. Uh, they try to get away from condemnation, both externally and self condemnation. They try to get away from it, and because of that, they try to relax their moral transgressions and like relax their moral condemnation, or update this moral condemnation. Let's try to get along with it, right? That is what they try to do. But then self-reflecting mechanisms are important to, you know check them again, like uh, to reflect again and get their morality on the right path. So that is what we have seen here in the second principle. So the third principle that connects different theoretical perspectives on human morality is the realization that this involves deliberate thoughts and ideas about right and wrong, as well as behavioral realities and emotional experiences that people have. For instance, when they consider that important moral guidelines and are transgressed by themselves, you know what? I'll leave the video at here. Right? I think I will keep the video at here. I'll end the video here because I think it has become too long, and I don't think my laptop has the ability to like accommodate for another 30 minutes or so. So I'll end the video here. We have looked at some interesting ideas, some interesting key points. Again, we haven't like finished a big chunk of the paper. We have only covered like a part of it. So thank you for watching. Again, if you are watching, I don't think anyone will be watching. So I'm just making these videos uh, to like go on this journey of writing this research paper. So thank you for watching. If you are, I'll end it.